The morning sun cast a golden glow over London as thousands of people lined the streets leading to Westminster Abbey. The air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Today was no ordinary day. It was a day that would be remembered in royal history forever. Police officers stood at attention every few meters, their eyes scanning the growing crowds who had been waiting since dawn for a glimpse of the royal family. Inside Kensington Palace, the Wales family was going through their final preparations. Kate stood in front of a large mirror, adjusting her elegant navy blue coat dress that had been specially designed for this momentous occasion. The fabric caught the light beautifully, and the pearl buttons gleamed against the rich color. Her stylist carefully placed a small, delicate hat on her perfectly styled hair, making sure every strand was in place. Prince William paced nervously in the next room, checking his watch for what seemed like the 100th time. He wore his military dress uniform, the medals and insignia polished to perfection. Despite having attended countless royal events throughout his life, there was something different about today that made his heart race with both pride and responsibility. 8-year-old Prince George stood still as a palace aide helped him with his miniature suit. The young prince had grown so much over the past year, and his serious expression showed he understood the importance of the day. He had been practicing his royal wave and proper walking posture for weeks, determined to make his parents proud. 6-year-old Princess Charlotte twirled in her beautiful dress, the fabric flowing around her like a small cloud. She had chosen her favorite hair ribbon earlier that morning, insisting it matched her outfit perfectly. Her excitement was barely contained as she kept asking her nanny when they would finally get to see all the people who had come to watch them. Little Prince Louis, now 4 years old, was having the hardest time staying still. He bounced on his toes, eager to get going, not fully understanding why everyone seemed so serious and formal. His small bow tie kept getting crooked, and Kate had to fix it several times while smiling at his innocent energy. The family gathered in the main hallway of their residence, where several royal protection officers and staff members waited. The head of security gave Prince William a final briefing about the route they would take and the schedule they needed to follow. Every detail had been planned months in advance, but everyone knew that with 3 young children involved, they needed to be prepared for anything. Kate knelt down to speak with each of her children one more time. She reminded them to smile, wave to the people, and stay close to their parents throughout the day. Princess Charlotte nodded seriously, while Prince George straightened his shoulders with determination. Prince Louis giggled and promised to be very, very good. The sound of car engines could be heard outside as the royal motorcade prepared for departure. Through the windows they could see the sleek black vehicles lined up perfectly, with drivers and security personnel making their final checks. The sight made the reality of the moment sink in for everyone in the room. As they prepared to leave the safety and comfort of their home, Prince William took Kate's hand and squeezed it gently. They exchanged a look that spoke volumes, a mixture of love, support, and shared understanding of the responsibility they carried, not just for themselves, but for their children and the institution they represented. The children gathered around their parents, forming a small circle of family unity before stepping out into the public eye. This was their moment to show the world who they were as a family, and each of them was ready to play their part in the grand ceremony that awaited them at Westminster Abbey. The door opened, and the first chapter of their royal entrance was about to begin. The massive wooden doors of Kensington Palace swung open, and the Wales family stepped out into the crisp London air. Immediately, the sound of camera shutters filled the air like rainfall on a roof. Hundreds of photographers positioned behind barriers began capturing every moment, knowing that these images would be seen around the world within minutes. Prince William emerged first, his tall figure commanding attention in his pristine military uniform. The morning breeze caught the edges of his coat as he paused for a moment, surveying the scene before him. His training in the military had taught him to assess situations quickly, and even now, in this ceremonial moment, his eyes briefly scanned the security arrangements and the positioning of their vehicles. Kate followed gracefully, her hand lightly touching the railing as she descended the palace steps. The navy blue of her coat dress looked even more stunning in the natural light, and the subtle shimmer of her jewelry caught the attention of every person watching. She moved with the poise that had made her a beloved figure around the world, but those who knew her well could see the slight tension in her shoulders that revealed her awareness of the magnitude of the day. The children appeared next, and the crowd's excitement reached a new level. Prince George walked with careful, measured steps, his young face serious with concentration. He had been practicing this moment for weeks, and it showed in the way he held himself, like a prince in training who understood his future role. His small hand reached out to steady Princess Charlotte as she navigated the steps in her formal shoes. Princess Charlotte beamed with delight as she saw the crowds of people lined up along the street. Unlike her older brother's serious demeanor, she couldn't contain her joy at seeing so many friendly faces. She gave a small wave that was immediately met with cheers and waves in return from the gathered spectators. Her natural charm and confidence shone through, making everyone who saw her smile. Prince Louis brought up the rear, his shorter legs working hard to keep up with his family. The 4-year-old's eyes were wide with wonder at all the commotion around him. He had never seen so many people in one place before, and the sight of all the cameras and official-looking adults was both exciting and slightly overwhelming. He stayed close to his mother, occasionally reaching for her hand when the noise became too much. The family made their way toward the waiting vehicles, their footsteps echoing on the courtyard stones. Royal protection officers flanked them discreetly, their trained eyes constantly moving to assess potential threats or disruptions. The lead car's door was already open, with a uniformed driver standing at attention beside it. As they approached their vehicle, Kate leaned down to whisper something in Prince Louis's ear. Whatever she said made him giggle and nod enthusiastically, his earlier nervousness seeming to melt away. Prince William placed a reassuring hand on Prince George's shoulder, and the young boy looked up at his father with obvious admiration and trust. The seating arrangements had been carefully planned. Kate would sit between Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, ensuring she could manage both younger children during the journey. Prince William would sit beside Prince George, continuing to guide and support his eldest son through this important experience. Before getting into the car, the family paused for one final moment together. This brief pause allowed the photographers to capture the image that would grace newspaper front pages around the world. The Wales family, dressed in their finest, ready to take their place in a ceremony that would be watched by millions. The sounds of the city surrounded them. The distant hum of traffic, the excited chatter of the crowds, the occasional call from a well-wisher. London itself seemed to be holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. As they prepared to begin their journey to Westminster Abbey, each family member carried with them their own mixture of excitement, nerves, and deep awareness of the historical significance of the day ahead. The royal car pulled away from Kensington Palace with smooth precision, beginning the journey that would take the Wales family through the heart of London to Westminster Abbey. Inside the luxury vehicle, the atmosphere was a mixture of excitement and careful preparation. The children pressed their faces to the tinted windows, amazed by the thousands of people who had gathered along every street to catch a glimpse of their family. Prince George sat up straight, trying to see over the crowds of adults who waved British flags and held up their phones to take pictures. His young mind was processing the incredible sight of so many people who had come just to see them. He turned to his father with questions about why there were so many photographers running alongside their car, and Prince William patiently explained the importance of the day, while keeping his own voice calm and reassuring. Princess Charlotte was in her element, waving enthusiastically at everyone she could see through the window. Her joy was infectious, and even the serious royal protection officers in the front seats couldn't help but smile when they heard her excited commentary about the decorations, the horses she spotted, and the beautiful dresses she saw in the crowd. Kate gently reminded her daughter to sit properly, but her own smile showed how proud she was of Charlotte's natural ability to connect with people. Prince Louis had started the journey full of energy, but the smooth motion of the car and the excitement of the morning was beginning to make him sleepy. He leaned against his mother's side, his small hand playing with the fabric of her coat dress. Every few minutes, something outside would catch his attention and he would perk up, pointing at police motorcycles or the magnificent buildings they passed. The route to Westminster Abbey had been carefully chosen to give as many people as possible the chance to see the royal family. They traveled down some of London's most famous streets, past landmarks that had witnessed centuries of royal history. The car moved at a deliberate pace, allowing time for the crowds to see their favorite royals while maintaining the schedule that had been planned down to the minute. Kate used the journey time to make final adjustments to the children's appearance. She smoothed down Prince Louis's hair, straightened Princess Charlotte's dress, and gave Prince George an encouraging smile. Her own nervousness was well hidden, but Prince William could see the way she checked her reflection in the window and adjusted her hat one more time. He reached over and squeezed her hand, a simple gesture that reminded her they were in this together. Outside, the crowds grew larger and more excited as they got closer to Westminster Abbey. The sound of cheering became louder, even through the car's thick windows. Street performers had positioned themselves along the route, adding to the festive atmosphere with music and colorful displays. Children sat on their parents' shoulders, waving small flags and calling out greetings to the young princes and princess. The car passed groups of international visitors who had traveled from around the world just to be part of this moment. Many held cameras with enormous lenses, while others simply wanted to experience the atmosphere firsthand. Tour guides pointed out landmarks and explained the significance of what they were witnessing to their excited groups. As they approached the final stretch before Westminster Abbey, the formality of the occasion became more apparent. Military personnel stood in perfect formation, and the barriers became more substantial. The casual, waving crowds gave way to invited guests and official representatives, all dressed in their finest attire for the ceremony ahead. Prince William checked his watch and nodded to the security chief in the front seat. They were precisely on schedule, just as royal protocol demanded. He looked at his family, his wife maintaining her graceful composure despite the pressure, his eldest son growing more serious as he understood the importance of the moment, his daughter still bubbling with excitement, and his youngest son now fully awake and taking in everything around him with wide eyes. The magnificent towers of Westminster Abbey came into view, and the children fell silent as they saw the ancient building where kings and queens had been crowned for nearly 1,000 years. The weight of history and tradition seemed to settle over the family as they prepared for their arrival at one of the most significant locations in British royal history. The royal car began to slow as Westminster Abbey loomed before them, its ancient stone towers reaching toward the cloudy London sky. The magnificent Gothic architecture seemed to grow larger with each passing second, and even the children fell silent as they took in the grandeur of the building that had hosted royal ceremonies for nearly 1,000 years. The weight of history seemed to press against the car windows as they approached their destination. Hundreds of specially invited guests had already gathered outside the Abbey, creating a sea of elegant formal wear and colorful ceremonial uniforms. Military officers in their finest dress uniforms stood alongside diplomats, government officials, and members of various royal households from around the world. The sound of their conversations created a dignified buzz that mixed with the distant cheers of the crowds held back by security barriers several streets away. Kate took a deep breath and made final adjustments to her appearance, checking that her hat was perfectly positioned and her coat was smooth. She had attended many royal events over the years, but the significance of this particular day made her heart beat a little faster. She looked at each of her children, giving them encouraging smiles and whispering last-minute reminders about walking slowly, staying together, and remembering their manners. Prince George had become very quiet during the final minutes of their journey, his young face showing the concentration of someone trying to remember all the instructions he had received over the past few weeks. He straightened his small tie and checked that his shoes were properly tied, displaying the attention to detail that would serve him well in his future royal duties. His parents exchanged proud glances as they watched their eldest son prepare himself with such maturity. Princess Charlotte pressed her face against the window one more time, trying to take in every detail of the scene before them. She could see photographers positioned at strategic locations, their large cameras ready to capture every moment of their arrival. The 6-year-old princess had a natural instinct for public appearances, and even at her young age, she understood that people were excited to see her family. Prince Louis had woken up completely now, his 4-year-old energy returning as he realized they had reached their destination. He bounced slightly in his seat, eager to get out of the car and explore this new and exciting place. Kate placed a gentle hand on his arm to remind him to stay calm, and he nodded seriously, though his eyes still sparkled with anticipation. The car came to a complete stop in the designated area just outside Westminster Abbey's main entrance. Through the windows, they could see a reception committee of senior clergy members and royal officials waiting to greet them. The archbishop stood in his magnificent ceremonial robes, while other church officials arranged themselves in order of precedence according to centuries-old protocol. Prince William was the first to step out of the vehicle, his military uniform immediately commanding respect from everyone present. The cameras began clicking furiously as he straightened his jacket and looked around to acknowledge the various officials who had come to greet them. His years of royal training were evident in the way he moved with confidence and purpose, despite the enormous attention focused on him. Kate emerged next, her elegant appearance drawing admiring glances from everyone present. The navy blue of her coat dress looked even more stunning against the ancient stone backdrop of Westminster Abbey. She moved with practiced grace, her years as a working royal evident in every step. The pearl buttons of her coat caught the light as she turned to help the children from the car. Prince George stepped out carefully, his small hand briefly touching his father's arm for reassurance. The young prince's serious expression showed he understood the importance of the moment, and his careful, measured movements demonstrated the royal training he had been receiving. Despite his young age, he carried himself with a dignity that impressed all the adults watching. Princess Charlotte practically glowed with excitement as she emerged from the car, her natural charisma immediately apparent to everyone present. She gave a small wave to the photographers and officials, her genuine smile lighting up her face. Her parents watched with pride as their daughter handled the attention with remarkable poise for someone so young. Prince Louis was the last to exit the vehicle, and his 4-year-old wonder at the magnificent building and all the formally dressed adults was evident on his face. He stayed close to his mother, occasionally reaching for her hand when the grandeur of the moment threatened to overwhelm him. His presence added a touch of innocent charm to the formal proceedings, reminding everyone that despite the ceremony and protocol, this was still a family moment. The Wales family stood together outside Westminster Abbey, forming a picture of royal unity that would be remembered for generations to come. The ancient stones of the abbey seemed to welcome them, as if recognizing the continuation of a tradition that stretched back through centuries of British history. The family took a moment to orient themselves, with Prince William and Kate exchanging quick glances to ensure everyone was ready for the next phase of their arrival. The Archbishop of Canterbury approached them with measured steps, his ornate ceremonial robes rustling softly in the gentle breeze. His warm smile helped ease any remaining tension as he greeted each family member personally. Prince George stepped forward first, extending his hand with the proper royal handshake he had been practicing, while Princess Charlotte offered a small curtsy that delighted everyone present. Prince Louis hid slightly behind his mother's coat, but managed a shy smile when the Archbishop spoke kindly to him. As they began their walk toward the Abbey's main entrance, the sound of organ music began to drift from within the ancient building. The magnificent chords seemed to make the very air vibrate with anticipation, and even Prince Louis stopped fidgeting as the beautiful music washed over them. The sound represented hundreds of years of royal ceremonies, and its familiar melodies helped calm the nerves of both adults and children alike. Kate walked alongside Princess Charlotte, occasionally adjusting her daughter's dress and offering quiet encouragement. The princess had started to realize just how many people were watching them, and while she maintained her bright smile, her mother's presence provided the security she needed to feel confident. Kate's own experience with royal events had taught her how to support her children while maintaining the dignity expected of a future queen. Prince William kept pace with Prince George, his hand occasionally resting on his son's shoulder as they moved closer to the Abbey entrance. The young prince was handling the pressure remarkably well, but his father could sense the concentration it was taking for the 8-year-old to remember all his training while processing the overwhelming grandeur around him. William's quiet words of encouragement helped keep his son focused and calm. The massive wooden doors of Westminster Abbey stood open before them, revealing glimpses of the stunning interior beyond. Hundreds of guests were already seated inside, their formal attire creating a sea of elegant colors against the backdrop of ancient stone columns and Gothic arches. The soft lighting from countless candles created a warm, golden glow that made the entire scene feel almost magical. Prince Louis had begun to walk more confidently as he got used to all the attention, though he still stayed within arm's reach of his parents. His 4-year-old curiosity was starting to overcome his initial shyness, and he began pointing at interesting details he noticed: the colorful stained glass windows, the elaborate stone carvings and the impressive military guards standing at attention. His innocent wonder added a touch of spontaneity to the carefully choreographed proceedings. The family paused just outside the entrance as final preparations were made inside the abbey. This brief moment allowed them to take in the full magnitude of what they were about to experience. The building before them had witnessed the coronations of monarchs, royal weddings, and state funerals for nearly a millennium. Today, they were adding their own chapter to this incredible history. Kate smoothed down her children's hair one final time, while Prince William checked that everyone's formal wear was perfectly arranged. These small, intimate family moments provided a touching contrast to the grand ceremony they were about to enter. Despite all the protocol and formality surrounding them, at their heart, they remained a close-knit family supporting each other through this significant experience. The sound of voices from inside the abbey grew slightly louder as the congregation settled into their seats and prepared for the family's entrance. Photographers positioned inside the building readied their equipment, knowing that the images they were about to capture would be studied and treasured by royal watchers around the world for decades to come. As they prepared to cross the threshold into Westminster Abbey, each member of the Wales family carried with them their own mixture of excitement, responsibility, and deep respect for the traditions they were about to uphold. The moment had arrived for them to take their place in the continuing story of the British royal family, witnessed by millions and set against the backdrop of one of the most historically significant buildings in the world. The Wales family crossed the threshold into Westminster Abbey, and the full grandeur of the ancient building enveloped them like a warm embrace. The soaring Gothic arches stretched high above their heads, while hundreds of flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the stone walls that had witnessed nearly 1,000 years of British royal history. The sound of their footsteps on the worn stone floor seemed to echo with the memories of all the monarchs, princes and princesses who had walked this same path before them. Inside the abbey, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. More than 2,000 guests had gathered for this momentous occasion, filling every available seat with a sea of elegant formal wear, military uniforms, and diplomatic dress. Representatives from around the world sat alongside British dignitaries, creating a gathering that reflected the global significance of the moment. As the Wales family appeared, a respectful hush fell over the congregation, followed by the soft rustling of people turning in their seats to get a better view. Prince George walked with careful precision, his young eyes taking in the incredible scene around him. The 8-year-old had never seen Westminster Abbey filled with so many people, and the sight was both overwhelming and inspiring. He could see familiar faces among the guests, relatives, family friends, and officials he had met at other royal events, and their encouraging smiles helped him maintain his composure as he processed down the aisle. Princess Charlotte seemed to glow in the candlelight, her natural confidence shining through as she took in the magnificent surroundings. The 6-year-old princess had an instinctive understanding of public moments, and she moved with a grace that impressed everyone present. Her parents watched with pride as their daughter handled the attention and formality with remarkable poise, occasionally giving small waves to people she recognized in the congregation. Prince Louis held tightly to his mother's hand, his 4-year-old mind trying to process the incredible scene around him. The abbey seemed enormous from his perspective, and the sound of the organ music reverberating off the ancient stones was unlike anything he had ever experienced. His wide eyes took in every detail, the colorful stained glass windows telling stories of centuries past, the elaborate stone carvings that decorated every surface, and the sea of faces all turned toward his family. Kate moved with the elegant grace that had made her beloved around the world, but those who knew her well could see the deep emotion in her eyes as she took in this historic moment. She had attended many ceremonies in Westminster Abbey over the years, but experiencing it with her 3 children added a profound personal dimension to the grandeur surrounding them. Her role as both a royal figure and a protective mother was beautifully balanced as she guided her family through this significant moment. Prince William's military bearing was evident in every step, his years of royal training and service apparent in the way he carried himself through this ceremonial moment. However, the occasional glances he shared with his wife and children revealed the deeply personal nature of this experience for him. This was not just a royal duty. It was a family milestone that would become part of their shared history for years to come. As they made their way deeper into the abbey, the full scale of the building became even more apparent. The ancient walls seemed to hold the echoes of centuries of royal ceremonies, from coronations to weddings to memorial services. The Wales family was now adding their own chapter to this incredible historical narrative, their presence representing the continuation of traditions that connected them to generations of British royals who had come before them. The organ music swelled as they reached their designated positions, the magnificent chords filling every corner of the abbey and seeming to make the very stones vibrate with sound. The congregation rose as one, their collective movement creating a wave of rustling fabric and respectful acknowledgement. The sight of so many people standing in their honor was both humbling and inspiring for the family. In this moment, surrounded by the weight of history and the warmth of public affection, the Wales family embodied the perfect balance between royal tradition and modern family values. They had successfully navigated their entrance into Westminster Abbey, creating memories that would last not only for them personally, but for the millions of people around the world who had witnessed this extraordinary royal moment. Their arrival was complete, but the significance of their presence in this sacred space would resonate far beyond this single day, representing the ongoing story of the British royal family and their connection to the people they serve.